Hey, welcome to this episode of Family by Design. So glad that you're tuning in. This is a brand new season of Family by Design, and we're going to be talking about raising up the next generation. And if you're a parent, you're a grandparent, you definitely are going to be super blessed by this whole season. It's going to help you out a lot. This particular episode, we're just going to talk about what it means to train up a child. And so be blessed and encouraged as you listen. Share this with some people that need to hear it, and it's going to bless them too. So this is the first episode in a brand new podcast season. Yes, this is a season that we're titling, raising up the next generation.
Yeah.
And I really think that this is so important because there's been something like in the last 40 years or so that I feel like has been lost in terms of training children.
Yes.
So, Family by Design is about marriage and family. And so what we just like to hit on all of these areas. And so one of the things that has always been near and dear to my heart is raising children, but doing it properly.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a lot of areas that we can't speak from because we either haven't done it or we're still working through, how to become good at it. But raising kids, I feel like is the thing that we did not do it perfect.
No.
We're not perfect parents, but we have a lot of fruit, very good fruit in this area. And it's because God's given us wisdom.
Yeah.
When I was 15 years old, I began to ask the Lord and seek the Lord on how to train kids. And that was 7 years before I had my first kid.
That was probably the furthest thought from my mind. I didn't even think anything about training a child.
No, I was unique. So,
Definitely.
but I believe that the Lord, He really has given us a lot of wisdom.
Yes.
So some of this came particularly from my parents, but just over the years, just digging in, reading materials, listening to other podcasts, and I really believe that God's given us some great things.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? Why do you think, you said you're a unique kid, but why do you think when you were 15 years old that you thought to ask, why should you discipline and how should you train a child? You weren't necessarily thinking about having children, maybe.
No, I didn't even want to get married.
Right.
I don't know.
Was there something that sparked that? Was it out of pain or fear, or were you?
Yeah, I think that I witnessed different family members that seemed like they needed to be trained better, and I'm like, how do I keep my kid from turning out like a jerk?
Okay.
And I'm not talking about my siblings, but I am talking about other family members that I saw the difference in how my parents raised us versus how they were raised, maybe some different cousins and things. And I'm like, why is there such a stark difference? The biggest difference is the Lord, of course. But then how my parents raised us and particularly trained us, there was a day and night difference. And so when we're talking about raising the next generation, and we'll get into this verse, but it says in, I think it's Proverbs 22:16, it says to train up a child in the way they should go. And when he is old,
he will
not depart from it. And so the idea isn't just, training, and that's what this particular podcast is about. It's about training children, and training children isn't just disciplining them, and it's not just instructing them.
Yeah.
It's when you pull those things together and you give them discipline and you give them instruction. And if you try to give a child instruction without having them disciplined, they become unrestrained and they're not going to hear what you have to say. Mm-hmm. If you give them discipline and you don't give them any instruction, then you're not helping them to avoid the pitfalls that cause them to have to be disciplined to begin with.
Right.
We'll get into this in another episode, but we particularly don't use the term punishment, but we heavy more on consequence.
Right.
Because our goal isn't to bring our children underneath of us, I'm punishing
ruling
you. But it's
them
listen, if you do this, this can happen. We're going to get into that stuff.
Yes.
But just for basics to start, just dealing with the understanding of what it means to actually train a child. And to train a child is both correction, instruction and discipline.
Yeah.
With corrections mixed in there
Right.
as well too. Because sometimes in the instruction you can bring correction. Sometimes the correction happens in the discipline. But it's basically those two things working together. And I'm not saying it's just as simple as that, but that's to me the foundation of what it looks like to train a child.
Yeah.
So again, whenever you train a child, it's in the way that they're supposed to go. And so we can get into this a little bit about
Yeah, I mean, I love
how
that
to train them.
because if you take on that mindset first, is that part of your role in your children's life is that you're supposed to train them. Otherwise, who's going to train them?
Mm-hmm.
What are they being trained by? By you or somebody else or whatever. So like even just taking on this philosophy and mindset of I have been placed in my child's life and vice versa. My child has been placed in my life. And part of my job as a parent is an opportunity. So I think sometimes we too need to change our mindset of like, is something we have to do, which could bring some pain in that and change it to like, this is an opportunity that I have to help mold and shape this young person into who they are to become.
That's right. Who they are to become is very important.
Yes. Not
Yes.
who I want them to become, not what I think they should do or how they should be, but who they are supposed to.
This raising
become.
kids is not about sending them down the assembly line. It's not a factory.
Come on.
They're supposed to be raised up in a particular fashion, how God has made them, not how you think they should be. They're an individual. They have different set of. Now they have to come underneath of the value system of your home, and they should, and that should align with the Bible. But they're unique. They have their own way of thinking, their own way of looking at things, and we have so many examples of what we're talking about. But the goal with parenting is, and we're going to get into this more in some other podcasts, but it's really to get rebellion out of your child's heart so that they can go the direction they're supposed to go. But again, I want to say that it's about training up a child in the way they are supposed to go. The best way I've ever heard this described in the Hebrew, going into the language a little bit deeper, it's like the bent. It's like the way it's supposed to go. And sometimes when you look at a kid and they can be thinking very different, they can look at things very different. You can think, what's wrong with them? Nothing's wrong with them. They just see things different. They have a different perspective, a different attitude, a different view on life. And so God has given them, now they need to be constrained in terms of character, in terms of how they treat people, in terms of their relationship with the Lord, developing that. So I use the word constraints, probably not the best word.
Boundaries.
But help them set up proper boundaries. But it's not to limit them, it's to enhance them.
Right.
So the way a child should go is their bent. And so we've seen different things with our boys. Like some of them are wired particular ways that the other ones don't even think that way at all.
Yeah, that's so good.
And so we saw with our oldest that he's got ministry things on him. He's got music things on him. And so we trained him and allowed him to go in that fashion, not to just grow wild, but to grow into what God had called him to.
That's so good. Not to grow wild, but to grow into. I love that.
And that's what it looks like to train.
Yeah.
Because if you don't train,
they're going to be wild.
you can have somebody that's like, oh, he's got people, he's got some people things on him. He cares for people and he likes music. Well, the next thing you know, he's becoming a punk rocker doing, shows for the homeless. Well, that might be good, but is that really what God's called him to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, so you can, because the thing is, your kid doesn't have to go and do some really crazy, wild, terrible, sinful thing to miss what God has for them.
So true.
Sometimes the worst thing we can do is something lesser than what God's called us to. And so training a child up is helping them find the bent, the lane, the vein that God's called them into. And it's not that we have to know all the nuts and bolts of it,
No.
but
Yeah.
we start to see like, okay, we need to help them discover, because we can see what's in them. We need to help them discover it, and then they build a relationship with the Lord, and God will lead them in that.
Yeah.
And then like our second son, I saw from the time he was young, he was very mechanical. We saw that. Like the kid likes to work on stuff. He's very good with his hands. By the time he was 14, I was like, hey, can you fix that? Because he'd probably do it better than me. He has a natural
true.
bent to do that.
So,
And so we've encouraged that.
yeah. And so even like with that being said, going back to something you had said about like them thinking different than you, I know especially with our second and our fourth child, they think so different than I think. And so when I have learned to embrace that, it's helped me, because sometimes even in training them, I'll be going so hard down this path. And then I remember one time our second child saying something to me, and I was like, I had actually never thought about what you're saying in that way ever. And so that helped me to even understand him a little bit better and adjust in how I was parenting him, not like in a bad way, not in like he's gonna, take over authority over me, but like when I understood a little bit more about him, then it helped me to embrace who he was and not look at myself as being like a failure or lacking.
Yeah,
but
because he's a natural born leader.
he is. And if there were many times that if I didn't stand up and you help me,
He would lead you.
and say like, no, I am the one that is in charge, not you, then he would lead me. And like, it would be like this kind of example. It'd be like, take out the trash. And he would go to take out the trash and he would say, now, will you put a bag in that? Because I'm going to take this out. And I would find myself putting a bag in there. And then I was like, no, I told you, you can delegate, but not to me.
Yeah.
Somebody else. But like, that's just one example. It's just because it's the way like.
So, yeah. And so then in that, instead of being like, why is he doing that?
Right.
It's like, okay, well, he needs to do the whole job. Mm-hmm. However, we're seeing that he's very good at delegating. He doesn't have to think about it. He just
He's
does
so
it.
much even better
He
at
can lead people very easy.
delegating than I am. It would be easy. So with this, it would be easy to let a child who is a natural leader, who it comes easy, to lead you.
Yeah.
It would be really easy for you to just
For
sit
somebody
back.
like you.
Yes.
For somebody like me.
No.
Him and I have a great relationship.
Yeah.
Probably better than it's ever been. But him and I have butted heads.
Yeah.
A lot. And I say butted heads. It wasn't like it was like terrible, but I had a lot of times where I was like, man, that kid, what am I going to do with him? He's so strong-willed and so like if he wants something, he's going to figure out how to get it. And
he'll
even though there
push
was some
and
rebellion, a lot of rebellion involved in what he was doing, we also saw the way that he was wired. And now he's 17 and is a lead installing HVAC stuff. And his boss just loves him.
Right.
And he's going to continue to be promoted probably till he owns the whole company.
Right.
Because he's just hardcore wired that way.
Or owns his own company or
Yes.
something like that.
So we didn't fight the way God made him, but we did help him set boundaries
Yes.
because it's for his soul. It's for his life.
Yeah.
And now he's learned to appreciate that, but he's blossomed. So just going in, without going in too deep, because we're going to go in deeper on some of the other podcasts, what it means to train is it is helping them find their bent, but the way that you train, it's like, okay, they need to be trained. That's their bent, the direction they go. How do we do that?
It's not cookie cutter.
It's not cookie cutter, but it tells, but there are some basic principles
Sure,
that will help us because this is the parent's job to train up the child.
Come on.
It literally, they've been given to us. God has entrusted them to us. And for people that are listening, I just want to tell you, you're anointed to do this. You can do
that's
this.
so good.
No matter how difficult your child is, you're anointed by God to do it. And you can find grace in your time of need. And so then again, it comes back to like what it means to train is both correction. I keep saying correction. It's both discipline, because correction's involved, but it's both discipline
And
and instruction. Both of those things have to be there. And when it comes to discipline, you literally discipline is guiding your kids into reaping consequences because of their rebellion. And we're going to talk about some different ways that you can help your kids reap consequences. It's actually good for your children to reap consequences.
Yeah, because in the real world, if you do something wrong as an adult, you're going to have a consequence, and there isn't going to be anybody to shelter you from that consequence.
Yeah. Yep, that's right. And so it's good to let our kids reap some consequences of their decisions while they're in a controlled environment, while they're in our home. There's tons of love, there's tons of grace, and then we also have instruction to go with it. And so there's a delicate balance. It's not cookie cutter,
Right.
because every kid is different.
That's right.
But every kid must be disciplined. There isn't a kid out there. Our oldest was almost the one that didn't need any discipline. He's the easiest kid in the world. It felt like God said to us, here's a blessing for your first. They're all blessings, but he made it so easy,
Right.
you know? And then,
Which is just grace for us. As being,
if we had our second one first, we might not have had any more kids. He was so difficult when he was younger, but they're all getting older now, and they're all wonderful, awesome men of God. And so, but then comes in the instruction, and the goal is that when you instruct, is that, you know, when they're younger, you end up doing more discipline and less instruction. But when they get older, the discipline at some point falls off
right.
completely. And hopefully you've built enough relationship with them that they come to you for instruction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's kind of some of the goal with that. So we're going to get into this more in some of the other episodes, but just to throw this out there and just to start this whole thing about raising up the next generation, we have to know and understand that it is our job to train children, and it involves both instruction and discipline. And God has a design for your child, and it's up to you to mine out, spend time with the Lord. He's going to help you understand the way He's designed your kid, and you have all the tools. You have the anointing of God. You have the Spirit of God. You have everything. You have the Word of God. Everything you need to raise up your kid for them to turn into the person, the young man, the young woman that God's designed them to be. So we're going to get into this more in the next episodes, and it's going to be really good. Thanks for tuning in to Family by Design. We're so thankful you took this time to listen and participate with Liz and I as we discuss these very important things concerning marriage and family. If you're blessed by this ministry, in particular this podcast, we'd love it if you would leave a review. It'll absolutely help boost our ratings and help other people to be able to find this podcast to bless them as well. We want to give a special thanks to our partners. Those of you that partner with Word Ministries, you make this possible. If you'd like more information about partnership, you'd like to become a partner with us, you can go to wardmen.org and find all the information there, as well as other resources. So we bless you in the name of the Lord. Thanks for tuning in.